But stay on with us, Mark. We have some crucial developments also coming in from Israel, where Prime Minister Netanyahu, who's facing long-running corruption cases, has formally submitted a pardon request to President Isaac Herzog. In a recent video message, Netanyahu has informed that his lawyers filed the request, while also stressing on the appeals made by US President Donald Trump to Herzog. He has said that the continuation of his trial is dividing the nation and hindering his governance. Let's listen in.
הגישו היום עורכי דיני בקשה לחנינה לנשיא המדינה. אני מצפה שכל מי שטובת המדינה לנגד עיניו יתמוך בצעד זה. מדינת ישראל ניצבת מול אתגרים כבירים ולצידם הזדמנויות אדירות. כדי להדוף את האיומים, כדי לממש את ההזדמנויות, נדרשת אחדות לאומית. המשך המשפט קורע אותנו מבפנים, מעורר מחלקות הזאת, מעצים.
All right, let's bring back Mark into the discussion here. All right, Mark, thank you for staying on with us. Now, my first question here is, what is Netanyahu asking pardon for when he's not even convicted of anything yet?
What people have to understand is that, of course, on the 7th of October, Hamas attacked via Gaza, Israel. 1,200 Israeli citizens were murdered, 251 hostages taken. Bibi Netanyahu is the Prime Minister of Israel. From that point, Israel has then, until a few weeks ago, actually no, it continues, has then been at war in defending itself and taking out Hamas, a terrorist group that's on its border there in the Gaza and the Gaza envelope. That means that he has been focusing on that. At the same time, there has been this court case and the accusation of fraud, of taking cigars and a rabbit soft toy, and he has been saying, you want me to go to court when I then need to be doing my job as Prime Minister and leading the country in this war. And what that has meant as he has gone into court, there have been occasions when he just said, judges, I need to step out here, as information that is very, very important in the past to how Israel was then conducted his war, has then come to him. And what he's saying is, how can I continue to do this when I am then in court? We have to remember, as much as this may be unacceptable to some, and we use that phrase, the deep state, in regard to the US and frankly in regard to the UK, there is also a deep state within Israel. There is also, we have the left and the right wing paradigm, and we have within Israel, you have the left who do not want Bibi Netanyahu as Prime Minister whatsoever, even after all that they have been through over 2 years. But I would also say, in my own humble opinion, that those voices are getting less and less. You raise an important point of being convicted. Well, the other thing is, you could say, no other person that I can think of is actually, as a prime minister or president or leader of a country, is then trying to lead his country during a war which they didn't start, and at the same time is then finding himself in court to undermine that. There is also a huge before the attacks on the 7th of October, Bibi Netanyahu's Likud party was then looking at judicial reforms within Israel. This is an issue that America faces. This is also an issue that the UK need to get hold of. And what it was about is the fact that if you are the government, you come in, you are then wanting to make decisions in how to then run that country. If you then see, as there's been going on, that the judiciary is in the way of that, then that starts to create some very, very important issues of who is actually running the country. And this case also raises that in regard to Prime Minister Netanyahu's position. Kriti.
Mark, now, of course, there's opposition that is telling him to pardon and then completely, resign from his position. While that is unlikely, do you see the pardon request that Netanyahu has made will have an effect of unifying the country, the divide that's there within the public of for and against Netanyahu, and what effect is this likely going to happen on the October election next year?
Having visited Israel twice in May and just a few weeks ago, there is very, very high unity within the country, especially because of the awful events of the 7th of October. Even people that would have described themselves as left-wing, that believed in a two-state solution, were now actually realizing and saying, this can never be. We don't have time to go through 4 years, many to a lot of history, and that the Palestinians, inverted commas, then being offered a two-state solution 4 times. That's an important subject. But there is unity, and I urge anyone, if they don't believe me, get on a plane, go to Israel, and you will find out for yourself. And of course, not everyone is perfect. People make mistakes. But if there's any country that comes together under the kind of adversity that Israel has had to put up with, I defy that, because they have really come together to fight. Let's just say this: an existential threat against them. E.g., do they actually survive as a nation? So the elections, like any democracy, and they are the only democracy in the region there within the Middle East, which has then had to fight against Hamas, then the Houthis, then Hezbollah. We've just seen the change in Syria with the fall of Assad and the interference by Turkey, but that's another subject. But the key is that it is unified, Kriti. They will get to the elections, I am sure, next year, and we will see how that plays out. But I defy anyone to put up with what they've had to put up with over the 2 years, and to then see it led in the way that they have led it by the present government that is in the Knesset. Kriti.
All right, thank you, Mark, for joining us in this conversation here. And with that, viewers, let's also tell you that Israelis have given mixed reactions on these developments. Some say a pardon should only be considered in the court if the court finds Netanyahu guilty or he resigns under conditions. Others believe that a preemptive pardon could relieve him of responsibility for October 7 attack. Let's listen into these statements that are coming in.
I think that if he would resign, I would be happy to grant him reconciliation. My son was killed on October 7th on the kibbutz, and I think that he should take responsibility for that. He should resign, and he should encourage setting up a national committee of inquiry. So there's justification for ending the trial, but only if he would resign.
If he can't manage being the Prime Minister of the country and going to the trial, he should resign as Prime Minister. And I would be very happy to see him resign and for the trial to come to an end. And if he is found guilty, then he can apply for a pardon. But to ask for a pardon without admitting any guilt, without losing any position, without it affecting his life whatsoever, other than that he gets off scot-free, I certainly don't think that he should get it.
I think basically it was a minor infraction, and it really won't help the country except for people who hate Netanyahu. So I would hope Herzog will agree, and that we can get done with all this.
All right, viewers, with that we move to news from South Asia, where Sri Lanka's death toll from Cyclone Ditwa has climbed to 212, with 218 missing. The flood waters have reportedly breached a dam. Meanwhile, the rescue operations continue in Sri Lanka. As per the Disaster Management Committee, nearly 1 million people are impacted by heavy rains and floods that swept through large parts of the South Asian island nation, forcing nearly 200,000 people into 1,275 shelters. Over 24,000 police, army and air force personnel are still trying to reach families stranded by floods. Meanwhile, India has extended help to Sri Lanka. India has launched Operation Sagar Bandhu. It has deployed INS Vikrant and INS Udaygiri to assist the affected families. India has also sent 2 large cargo aircraft carrying 21 tons of relief materials to Colombo. Now moving on, Pope Leo XIV has arrived in Beirut in Lebanon for a 3-day visit, marking the first foreign trip since he was appointed in May. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun, along with other officials and clergy, welcomed the Pope. Crowds waving Lebanese and Vatican flags lined the streets, welcoming the first American pontiff to the presidential palace in Baabda, where he will address the country's authorities and civil society. During his visit, Pope Leo will meet political leaders, young people, and religious figures, emphasizing dialogue and unity amid heightened regional efforts. And in fact, those are live visuals of Pope's visit in Lebanon. He is expected to visit the monastery of Mar Marang in Anaya to pray at the tomb of Charbel Makhlouf, a monk known for fostering interfaith harmony. The Pope will also commemorate the victims of the 2020 Beirut port explosion and celebrate Mass on the Beirut waterfront. Let's remind you that this visit follows an Israeli strike in southern Beirut that killed 5 people, highlighting the fragile situation of the security there. Live visuals, viewers, from Pope Leo XIV's visit in Lebanon. Pope meeting the officials there at Beirut. That's all the time we have for. Keep watching NewsX World for more international news updates from around